Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Yan. Welcome to our thematic Bible conference. The topic today is Him I Declare Unto You is taken from Acts of Apostles, chapter 17, when Paul was talking to the people in Athens who are very argumentative. And he became very successful because even though they are argumentative, he got the point in. So in other words, what I'm going to share with you is how we can tell others about Jesus the Christ. Now, this is not something that everybody talks about, but I think it's our duty to share with others, and it's really a joy. I hope that after this seminar, you will agree with me and give it a try. Now, the idea of a thematic conference is to help you understand the themes of each of the books in the Bible, and this time we picked the Acts of Apostles. Now, so I may as well start by telling you, sharing with you, that the theme of the book of Acts is very easy. Like any other major works, you will find it in the introduction and you'll find it in the last chapter. So if I read it to you, chapter 1, verse 1, it says, the first account I composed, Theophilus, about all that Jesus began to do and teach. And the last verse in the same book is that Paul, one of the disciples, and preaching the kingdom of God and teaching concerning the Lord Jesus Christ with all openness, unhindered. And I want to emphasize unhindered. So that's from the text. Well, what can we learn from that? If you read the entire book of Acts, you will find out everything is pointing out to these two things, which is the theme, and the central theme is what Jesus continued to do. So the good Dr. Luke was writing to this big shot, Theophilus, that the first book, Luke, Gospel of Luke, is about all that Jesus began to do and teach. So this book, the second book, is actually about how the work continued. So the first one was how Jesus started, and the second one was how he continued to do and teach about the kingdom of God. You say, where is the kingdom of God? Well, you read in the chapter 1, it's become very clear what Jesus was doing when he was on earth with his disciples. And the book is called the Acts of Apostles because it's a record of what they did and what they taught. And so the theme was that Jesus continued to do that through his disciples who obeyed him. And when they did that, they were able to do it with all openness, unhindered. Now, that does not mean there's no opposition. It's just that even though Paul was in jail or home detention, he was able to share the gospel with all openness. You can ask any question you want, and then he's unhindered. I like that. The last word being unhindered. That means the gospel can go anywhere, even though the messenger was in jail. Now, today, we obviously are not in jail. I hope so. And the question becomes that, are we able to go about with openness, answering people's questions? No questions unanswered. And unhindered. In other words, we're not encumbered by our environment, the customs that we are supposed to obey, what other people do or don't do, how people worry about us or how we worry about other people, that we can share the gospel unhindered. Now, the theme we talk about is actually the major theme of Acts, and you will find out the major portion of it is about evangelism. Now, evangelism is the word we use today. They don't use that word. It's just a short form of describing the activities, what Jesus did and preached, and what Paul did and preached. You notice one thing they did first. They carry it out in action, and then they explain why they did it in such a way. So we want to learn from them. And the way we learn from them is what we call the inductive method. Now, the word inductive is just a very simple word to describe one way of teaching or learning. It basically means understanding first what the other person or the author from the Bible wants to tell you or tell us. Before you agree or disagree, first understanding that first. Now you were saying, Well, Dr. Yang, isn't that common sense? I mean, if somebody sends me an email, say, hey, doctor, so can we do lunch tomorrow? Well, the meaning is very simple. Can we eat? Can we go to a restaurant together to have lunch? Now, maybe it's at home, but if he wants to do it at home, he'll say, can we do lunch at my home? So you basically understand it, and I don't think there's any debate about that. Now, what do you say to the person who said, no, Dr. Yan, I think this is a trick. I think he just wants me to loan him some money. Now, in that case, I would say, wait a minute, where did the idea of trying to trap you by food, by feeding you some food that would be an excuse to get you to loan him some money? Now, if you say that was the experience, then it's still not fair. Maybe he did not intend to do that. So the intention of the author is far more important than your own so-called interpretation. Because interpretation, the proper understanding is learning what the author intends to tell us or tell you. It's not, well, it depends on your experience. It depends on how you interpret the text. No. If we put ourselves ahead of the other person when we communicate, then all things are messed up. So you need to have the courtesy of first understanding what the other person says. Now, you may not agree. You may say that he has some ulterior motives, but if it's not in the text, he did not say that. So then it's not there. Now, you can always argue, well, some other experience, some other bad experience, or some other text will have said this, but it's not in this text, okay? So if you want to study the other Bible passages, study the other Bible passages. Don't drag this into another passage. So we need to understand what is the message that the person is trying to tell us. Now, this means opening up our minds sometimes to things that we may not be accustomed to, because very often we have our own bad habits. Every time somebody says something, we default to some previous ideas we have about this person. So inductive really means to be fair. Judge the person or understand the person from what he has said or she has said this time and interpret it that way. Interpretation means getting the intention of the author, not imposing your own understanding into the words. Now that may mean that sometimes it's uncomfortable because he is saying something that we are not used to, we may not agree. But that's a different story. There's a second step. I understand, I have to emphasize this because very often when we talk, hear other people saying, we're so surrounded by people who use the Bible improperly. Well, what do you mean by that? They have their ideas first, and then they locate a few Bible verses to support their own view. They may say, well, evangelism should be done this or that, or when you meet people, you should do this and that. And then they try to pull some Bible. Well, actually, they don't need the Bible. A lot of times, they really don't need the Bible. And but they would use the Bible to show that they have proper backing. It is not fair to the Bible, okay? Because the Bible have a lot of things to say, and we need to pay attention to that. So I call the opposite of inductive preaching or teaching the deductive way, the deductive teaching. Deductive is meaning that you made your point already, you decided what you want to say, and then just collect a few little pieces from the Bible to support your view. However, of all the Chinese churches, I'm sad to tell you, of all the Chinese churches that I have attended, and I have been attending church for a long time. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior in 1963. Well, many of you were not born yet. I'm sorry to inform you that. That was a long time ago. And I have attended many, many Chinese churches. Now, I don't speak about American churches, but I will speak about the Chinese churches. I have not found any that have yet learned to use an inductive way. It's because according to one famous preacher, Dr. Timothy Lin is a great preacher. He told me the reason why he need to do the inductive not the inductive, but the deductive preaching, is people are not very intelligent. People don't have a good education. They don't always understand the Bible. So I read the Bible, the preacher, read the Bible, digest it, and then find out what they want, and then tell them what the Bible says. Well, that may be true and good. Now, Dr. Timothy is a good friend of mine. He passed away. He's one of the greatest preachers and pastors I know of. But that's what he told me. Out of good intention, they would digest the teaching of the Bible first. What that means, if he could not digest something, he's not going to share with you. And if he feels that you are not able to learn it, he's not going to teach that part of the Bible. So there's always an easy way out, selecting only things that the preacher likes to talk to you about. And it's always consistent, because any Bible passage that's not saying the same way, he would just ignore it. And so the members never would read that. And if you read that and ask him why the Bible is saying that, they would just say, oh, brother, you don't understand. That's not our attitude, okay? I'm not belittling anybody. It's just that even the highest ranking ministers sometimes would, for the protection of the flock, only digest the food first. And no. We want to digest the Bible, understand the Bible ourselves. And the way to understand it is to understand what Luke was trying to tell us about the Acts of the Apostle, which is the blessing from above. And we want to learn from them. So deductive preaching is really an easy way out, because you only say things that the audience already know about. So moving on, the next thing is, if you look at Acts chapter 17, there are two examples of evangelism. Number one, Paul actually spent a lot of time preaching to those people who are already in the habit. In the habit of what? In the habit of going to the synagogue. These are the Jews. So the second part is to those people who were not in the synagogue. All they want to hear some new ideas, argue about it to show how smart they are. Now, I understand, and I'll talk about how the church today approach these issues. And you'll find that they are not doing either one of these two approaches. But back to what Paul was doing, okay? To those who are already in the habit, Acts chapter 17, verse 2 tells us, according to Paul's custom. Well, why does he have the custom? Well, he was raised a Jew, a very devoted Jew. And he knew that the rest of the Jewish population, if they had enough people, they would have a synagogue, and that's the place to go. So according to Paul's custom, he went to them, to whom? To the Jews in the Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. So this is a good thing to do. Now, the example I share with you is to enable us to share the gospel with newcomers, with visitors who show up in the church. And some churches have the custom and asking, oh, are there visitors? Would you stand up? Let us greet you. And then you will know where they sit. I have developed a methodology which is very useful to approach people who come to visit our church. They already show up in our church, and you're already there. You don't need to go somewhere else. So it is a lot easier for you to reach them than to go to another group where they are the majority and you are the minority. And you say, Dr. Ian, what are you talking about? Who is going to invite me to another church to talk about? Well, I'll tell you an example. I mean, I used to give lectures on how to meet emergency situations, like if there's an earthquake, if there's a fire, civil riots, and so on, so uncivil riots. What do you do about that? I gave that in the hospital. And so afterwards, a Muslim came to me and saying, Dr. Yan, I have never anybody spoken so well. You know, our community, we are always afraid of the law enforcement because we don't know whether they're going to spy on us. Would you agree to come to a Muslim gathering to share with our brethren how we can be prepared? That's a great opportunity. I accepted that. Now, I know not everybody would have that opportunity, okay? Guess what happened? I accepted. And then his leader finding out that I'm a Baptist, tell him no. Well, that was it. But I'm prepared to come. So that is a situation where you go to the other group. Okay, you can go to somebody's birthday party, you go to some other gathering, as long as the opportunity is there, you can share the Lord Jesus Christ with them in an appropriate way, and at the end make friends. Okay, so this is about making friends. Now, the results are not guaranteed. They may not consider you a friend. And so as Paul found out that these people really did not like him, hey, but the message is delivered, okay? And so the acts of apostle plural, you know, they not just do one time and go home sad and cry about it. They continue to do that, and the Lord Jesus Christ was preached. Now, he did not just go to the churches, so to speak. He did not go to where people gather or in the habit of gathering to talk about religious things. The big example here in chapter 17 is that he also went to Athens, and it really aggravated him to see these people are so-called religious when they don't know what they're talking about. I have clients that come to me and say, oh, you know, Dr. Yan, you may be religious. I'm also very spiritual. And what do you mean very spiritual? Oh, I believe in feng shui, you know, you are Chinese, but I really believe in feng shui. So there are a lot of people, oh my goodness, this is, they don't know what they're talking about. And sometimes they just want to argue. So I will give you an example later on how to deal with people who want to argue. Now, if you have more than 1 hour, I can easily give you more than one example. Many, many fun situations where people just want to argue with me. The nice thing about an argument or a debate is that it generates so much excitement. Everybody else wants to come to see how they defeat Dr. Yan. Look, every time I do that, I had a great fun. I did not make any enemies. I defeat everybody, and they walk away quietly, only to find an opportunity to come back to me later on. That's what you want. You want them to think about it, come up with better arguments, and come back to argue with you again, with the point that you become clearer and clearer about Jesus Christ, and bolder about what Jesus Christ has done for you. Now, they may not believe, but that's their problem. Our problem is to articulate it and present it to them the best way we can in a fun way, okay? So the text tells us in chapter 17-19, even though Paul was basically reasoning with the devoted Jews and those Gentiles who are fearful of God, respectful of God, after this debate, some of these other guys really saying, well, I don't know what you guys are talking about, this idiot, this idle guy talking about this strange thing. So they took him, they really gave him no choice. And they brought him to the Areopagus, which is an open area where all these philosophers who argue how to best run the country, blah, blah, blah. So the Greeks are famous for doing this. And so they say, well, may we know what this new teaching is, which you are proclaiming. So they're not really respectful, okay? In fact, they say he's a babbler. But hey, say what you want. If you give me a chance to talk about Jesus Christ, I will. The question is, how many of us are prepared for that? Most of us are just trying to be comfortable and go to church. No. You need to do more than that. I'll be very honest with you. You need to step up, step out, and do a little bit more than what you are accustomed to. So they may take you in the arena where you're not comfortable with. So get comfortable with it before they do that, okay? So it's a lot of fun. I will tell you, it's a lot of fun preaching in the marketplace, so to speak, where the crowds are, okay? Where not the church people are, where the other ideas are floating around, and they do it every day with those who happen to be present. They are not there to hear the gospel, but they want to hear what you have to say. Hallelujah, so be it, okay? So my point is, please understand, you need to go to Athens first. You need to reach out. Don't be just a Sunday Christian, show in church, sing some new songs, what they call songs, new hymns. Not even hymns, they just sing some not even music, and then go home. You need to practice and figure out if the opportunity arises. If God gave me the opportunity, how do I make sure that the message is received? They may not like it, but that's a different story. We're not trying to aggravate people, but hey, not everything you say people will like, but at least you have to be faithful to the message. Now, evangelism is really your personal duty. I have to emphasize that. The reason I say that is because too many churches regard evangelism as the domain of the minister. The pastor is there preaching. At the end, he gives an altar call, and people go out, and nobody else is supposed to do anything, say anything more. Okay, your job is to bring your friends. Yeah, your job is to bring, just like Andrew and trying to find his brother Simon, but they bring him to Jesus. They don't bring him to church. Well, I'm not saying that's wrong. That's what we do. But I'm just saying that it cuts down the opportunity for the individual Christian to do his duty. Evangelism is your personal duty. Now, if you never heard that statement before, you hear it from me today. Well, he said, how do we do it? You read the Bible. Sometimes people read the Bible just to feel better, to have a devotion, and they didn't learn anything from it. My approach is you can talk about the Bible to a non-Christian as long as you talk about the wisdom from the Bible, and they will really admire you and admire what the Bible has to say, and they get drawn closer to the Lord Jesus Christ. So read this. Inductive Bible is understand what Luke is trying to tell us, okay? And even though he's talking to Theophilus as an individual who is very powerful, I mean, this guy is no small potato. You know, the Roman Senate chose Caesar, who's going to be emperor. The Senate is not elected by the people. They don't have voting. It's elected by the wealthy family. This guy is one of the wealthiest family members of the wealthiest family in Rome. And Luke is writing to him and say, this is what the Lord is using the disciples to show forth his power. Meaning you too should learn from this and submit to the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. So there's a lot of wisdom in there. So how did Paul do it? Let's look at this. Very clearly, Paul would go directly to the non-Christian. Whether it's Jew or Gentile, he would just show up. If it's a synagogue, he would go there. If it's a place where they wash clothes or very few people or the marketplace in Athens, he would go. And in fact, it was so effective that they would make sure that he would show up, okay, so that they would have their scholars to argue with him. But Paul would use the relevant tool. When he's in the synagogue, he will argue with them or reason with them about the Old Testament. Why? Because that's what they respect, because that's what they have. But with the non-Christian, the Gentiles, he argued with reality. Now, reality is a big word. Reality is what really happened. You know it's true. This is self-evident. We don't need to argue about it anymore. And based on these things, you should know this is what God wants you to know. Take them one step further. Well, that would mean that you need to know something about reality, okay? You cannot hide in your own little circles and be comfortable. You need to step up and find out what are the things that bothering people. What are the people that people face every day? And so have a understanding of their situation and have the proper response. Now, you have to know that whatever you say, somebody will have a rebuttal. And you better be prepared for it, not in an argumentative way, but to lead them to Jesus Christ. And even if you did the very best, you have to understand your job is not to make the other person believe. The other person has free will. He can believe or choose not to believe. But your job is to deliver the message in a way there's no uncertainty that the message is being delivered, okay? And sometimes being humorous is a good way, okay? Expect opposition, expect disagreement. I understand in a church setting, very often Oh my goodness, unity is everything. So if somebody is upset, then the other person is upset. Then everybody is upset. No. Sometimes okay. I mean, now you can say, Dr. Yan, it's easy for you to say you don't know my church. Yes, thank you. I don't know about your church. Somebody says, you don't know about my wife. Yes, thank you. I don't know about your wife. But my job is to share with you how Paul did his job, and he was successful about it. Successful, not that everybody believed, only some believed, okay? Now, in contrast, how do we do it in many churches today? Again, I'll have a disclaimer. I spend most of my time in the Chinese church in North America, some in Hong Kong, and I also spend quite some time in the North American Baptist churches. Well, if I'm wrong, you tell me that I'm wrong, okay? You have a better church. Sometimes when I say these things, people tell me, but Dr. Yan, our church is better. I say, hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. That's all I can say. How do they do evangelism? Well, somebody, I don't know, in a community would pick an outsider, typically an outsider, because we hear our own pastors every Sunday. We want somebody new. He would invite the person would come. Nobody knows who he is, and all the congregation knows that he's very famous. Well, but then the sad thing is our friends don't know he's famous. Our friends don't know a thing about him. I don't even know anything about him. And then somebody set a date and a time, regardless. Regardless means, well, regardless of whether my friend is available or not. Now, I tell you, it's very true. Most of my friends, non-Christian friends, okay, hallelujah, I have enough non-Christian friends, are doctors and nurses. If I ask them, well, would you come with me the first Friday night to my Irvine church, which is what, an hour and a half driving during the traffic hour, at 7 o'clock to hear a Chinese guy talk about what? I don't know. Talk about something important. Nobody can come simply because they are operating on the patients day and night. They don't get off until midnight. Well, the church cannot simply change the day and time because Dr. Yan's friends are working in the hospital. Well, I don't have time to find other friends. So that's all I have. Now, and you think, well, how can you share the gospel if that's the case? That's exactly the point. So it's my personal responsibility. I cannot just say, well, Billy Graham refused to come. So I cannot get anybody to go because they will go only if Billy Graham comes. Sorry, if you have not heard the news, Billy Graham has passed on already. And his son is doing something else. Very, very meaningful, but he's not coming to organize a big evangelistic meeting like his dad would. So that doesn't work, but it doesn't make any difference. We will find some friends to come. But the important thing is the speaker talks, you don't talk. Well, these are my friends. How come I cannot talk to my friends? Well, but your job is to bring them to so that they listen to the speaker. Who in this day and age would listen to a speaker talk about his stories in Hong Kong? My American friends won't know a thing about. Hey, that's what we do here, okay? And if no newcomers come, we'll call it a revival meeting. It's so bad. Even my dad knows about that when I was growing up in Hong Kong. There was this banner outside my church called evangelistic meeting, and my dad tell him, how many people newcomers showed up? And I say, I don't know. And my father would tell me, well, is that why they end up calling it revival meeting and then nobody get revived? It's called a special meeting. And so why do they do that? Because it's a church program. We are a church. We're supposed to do evangelism. The sad result is all the Christians sitting there do not know how to talk to their friends. When the friends ask them about Jesus Christ, the friends have to ask, and we don't know. Wow, if you really want to know, you should come with me to my church this next Sunday. Well, he's on call, and so he will never show up. But that's now, if you tell me your church is much better, hallelujah, let me know, okay, how you guys do it. So back to the introductory Bible study, I find that there are at least two methods that Paul would use. He shared with, now he is the newcomer. He would go there and share with people during the entire service, okay, because I guess they have allowance for famous people to come and read the passage to them and then expound on them. Well, we don't have that custom today. What do? We reverse it, okay? And if you have the ability to go to the website, just go to visit the website W4C or WCCCC.org, because I would have posted the instructions there. Now, I don't have time to talk about it today. It's a very simple thing. You talk to the visitors to come to your church, okay? A lot of churches have visitors every Sunday. You find out what they said, you approach them, and all you do is read 4 passages to them. Not you read. You ask them to read to you, so that at the end, even if nothing you say makes sense, they read the scriptures, okay? The key is not you read it, you point out the scripture to them, let them read it, ask a few questions, and whether they answer correct or incorrect, it went into their heart, and then you ask them, would you receive Jesus, open your door, the door of your heart to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And let me tell you this, it's very simple. I have done this for a long time. Now, you may say, Dr. Yan, it's just you. I know. A few other people have tried it too. But 1 out of 2 people will accept the Lord right there. Now, I don't know what business you're in. If you're in sales, 1 out of 2 customers would agree to buy. That's phenomenal. So it's very simple. You're picking the fruits, the low-hanging fruits. These are visitors that already come. They are coming that particular day. Why? Not because they have nothing to do. They are coming because they have a particular need. Give you an example. I was sitting in church some time ago, and this young guy stood up. Well, we welcome newcomers. So he stood up and said, I come to you today, first time. I'm very sad because my mother died last week, and I hope to get some support. He sat down. Nobody talked to him. Well, it's not every day somebody came in to tell you that his mother died, so nobody knew what to say. At the end, everybody left. So I went up to him and said, I am so glad that you come. Would it be all right if I share with you why it's important that you receive Jesus as your personal Savior? He said, yeah. So I shared with him the material that I'm going to post on the website. If you wait for another week, he's not coming back. He came that particular week. Why? Because his mother died the previous week. You don't want to wait until his father's dead too, and then at that time, he would come and still nobody talk to him because they don't know what to do. His parents died. What does that have to do with me? No, you use every opportunity you have because these are people God sent to your church. You are sitting there already. He has come already. So why not just talk to him about church? So there's one deacon that just bothers me. So I find out that, well, it's his duty. He was told to greet the newcomers. So he would only go and talk to the pretty girls at the end. So I asked him, well, dear deacon, what is the goal? What do you aim to achieve when you talk to these newcomers? And he said, quoting directly, my job is to make them feel that we're friendly. Oh, okay. So with the purpose of they are coming back next week. Well, how about sharing Jesus Christ with them? Oh no, I don't want people to think that we are rude. Why is sharing Jesus Christ rude? I mean, can you share it in a more polite way? In every way, we Chinese are never rude. Why is it that when you never share Jesus Christ and you approach people and spend time with them and is afraid that you are rude? Why can't you speak in a non-rude way? Beyond me. But anyway, hey, there are visitors that you can go and get them. Okay? And the way is use the Bible. Open the Bible and have them read a few passages. It's very natural to be reading the Bible verses in church, and it's the authority. You are not the authority. Okay, I know people say, well, share with people your testimony. People don't want to hear about my testimony, okay? People are worried about their problems. So Jesus Christ is the authority. Don't spend half an hour telling them about your own sad story. Just tell them about Jesus Christ. Now, there are times it's appropriate to talk about your own testimony, but the whole idea is not about your testimony. The testimony is to point them to Jesus Christ. Use the testimony to point them to Jesus Christ directly, okay? Otherwise, it's meaningless, okay? Because everybody has a story, and it's in the past. It's not in the future. So use the Bible, okay? And the approach is very simple. Ask the visitors to read the Bible verses himself, okay? Help them to understand it, okay? And if nothing else happened, they learn something from the Bible, whether or not they're ready to receive Jesus Christ that day or not. I have situations where people say, no, I'm not ready. But the next year, when I was invited to the camp, the first one that will come out to greet me was this girl who said she was not ready. And the first thing she said, Dr. Yan, I received Jesus Christ. Isn't it wonderful? They know what I have done. And I know that the Lord will bless her or him. So the nice thing about this approach is that you don't have to go somewhere else. You can sit in your church every week. If you go every week, and you can just look out for visitors that will come. And these are the people who have chosen to come to your church on that Sunday. Talk to them. Where does it say in the Bible that only one preacher can talk to visitors? I mean, I know it's a habit. Everybody, oh, if you have a need, go out to the minister. He will pray for you. Well, how many people can the minister talk to for the 15 minutes after church? But if you have 5 people trained, you can talk to 5 newcomers every Sunday. If there's only one, you go and talk to that person, okay? So work on the low-hanging fruits. Why? Don't try to talk to people who are not interested. The person's already here. Just ask, oh, I'm so glad you come. Do you know why it's so important that we receive Jesus as our personal Savior? The person will only say yes or no. It's not a problem. Why? Because it's like asking, what is your name? The person has a name, he will tell you. So you just ask, have you ever received the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? And the answer yes or no. And then you say, would it be all right if I share with you why it's important we do that? If the person say no, fine, find somebody else. If the person say yes, you have the opportunity. Reading the Bible verses with an open Bible is a very natural thing in the church thing. In the church, I hope that you all have your Bible, okay? Try to have a Bible, because you open it, point to it, it's very easy to use your finger. If you use a phone, you use a phone, you hand over, the person doesn't know what to read. It's all over the place. So you will find out that people will tell you, nobody ever tells me about Jesus the way you do. That's a great blessing. It's not hard. It's something to be done. So again, if you want to learn how to do that, visit W4C and or WCCCC.org, or come to my website, the Chinese Church Studies, okay, .org, and I would have it posted there, and you will find some of the helpful material. So figure it out. Or if you want a seminar, just contact the Alumni Association and say, I want a seminar on how to do personal evangelism after church, okay? So, and you can even share it with your parents or some elderly authoritarian persons. Now, learn it in church first, because those are the easiest situations. I was invited one time to talk about this in a fellowship, and there are 6 people there, and they tell me, well, it's very difficult. We find that we have our heart for our parents, but sometimes the parents don't understand. They would never come to church with us. I said, I understand that. There was one time I invited my mother to go to church after begging her, doing all the dishes, behaving, getting all the A's. She once showed up, and it was so sad. I remember the pastor. I don't even know what the guy is talking about. And my mother's sighing for half an hour. And I came home. She would never go back again. So I said, hey, I understand. Our job is not to drag people to church, even though, yes, if you succeed in dragging people, fine. Our job is to share the gospel with people when they're willing. So these one of the six said, well, but how do I do that? My father is very stern. I said, okay, good. He's Chinese, right? Chinese. He has a lot of emphasis on education, right? Right. Tell your dad you attended Dr. Yan's seminar, and Dr. Yan has very high standards, and Dr. Yan expects you to do your homework. And one of the work is to get your parents to go and finish the work with you. So without your parent, you're not going to pass. Okay. So Dad, would you come? So he used a trick. Nothing wrong with that. So he asked me, and at the end he said, Dad, I really need to do this. So he was so frightened of his dad. He took the sheet out and read from the instructions. I mean, he could not even look at his dad and talk. He just read. And question number one, and the dad opened the Bible, read the passage, and answered. Oh, okay. Question number two, read this, and this. Would you answer that? And the dad said, yeah. So at the end, he asked the dad, well, would you open the door of your heart, the heart's door, to receive Jesus as your personal Lord? And I said, yeah. Okay. And the brother just said, oh, I never expect this to happen. Well, when I do this, 50% of people will accept. Okay, the other 50 will accept on their own after that day, in a year or so, and it's just an unbelievable joy. Okay, so just understand this: that non-Christians, when they come to your church, or when you meet them in a certain situation, they open their hearts to you and they profess a need. They need Jesus Christ. They're not asking for more church activity. Okay, you may enjoy the church activity, but talk to them about Jesus Christ. And you say, well, I don't know what to talk about. Fine. The next part is to teach you how to talk about it. Now, method number two is we can use Paul's approach. It could be anything. It could be anybody who has no inclination to hear about Jesus Christ. It's about people who want to argue with you. So what do you do? Okay, I'll give you an example later on, but first understand Paul's approach. Number one, go where the sinners gather. Okay, if you don't go there, well, it's not possible you don't go there. You have to go and work. You go to the supermarket. There are people surrounding you, and it's just that you don't know how to find the opportunity, and there's never an environment suitable for them to ask you a question. So what you want is an opportunity where other people can ask you questions. Well, I know that's not how preachers do. Every time I have yet found since 1963, where I became a Christian, where after the preaching, the pastor saying, are there people who have a different opinion? Let me know. We can talk about it. No. When it's finished, it's finished. Okay. We're not used to discussion, and therefore, lots of Christians do not know how to respond to others. Learn how to ask questions. Learn how to discuss with other people. But first, go to where the sinners are and listen to them. Okay, and don't be afraid of a debate. Okay, the Bible uses the word Paul reasoning with the devoted Jews and the Gentiles. Actually, it's a debate. Okay. You will find out that debate will attract other people because the other guys really want to see how they can beat you up. These are the Epicureans and Stoic philosophers, okay? And so what? If you don't know what they're talking about, ask them what they believe and let them tell you. You get educated. I mean, sometimes people say, we have so many Buddhist relatives, we don't know how to preach to them. I think, okay, then why do you reverse? Ask them what they believe. You learn something. But don't tell me that you will become a Buddhist, okay? So you better know what you're talking about, but learn from them. And if they don't know what you're talking about, you say, well, then you ask the question, would you like to know what we Christians believe? If they say no, fine. If they say, yeah, that's an opportunity, it's fair. So never mind other people having conceit about you. I was once invited to an afternoon tea, and this guy is from Taipei, and he was very wealthy, and he built a temple for the Buddhist community. And he said, Dr. Yan, I heard that you're a Christian. Why would a well-educated person with a PhD from Berkeley believe in Christianity? But to him, Christianity is for the low-ranking peasants, It's like, okay. So I said, you want to know? Let me tell you what. I work on platelets. And the platelets flow in our body. They circulate without causing problem until the platelets come to a wound. And in 4 milliseconds, it will transform and plug up the hole and stop bleeding. That's how we survive. I invented an artificial platelet. You want to know how it works? And so the guy was really captured. At the end, he said, you're right. That's why we all should pay respect to the Creator. Well, never mind people look down on you. That's a perfect way to get back to them. Now, of course, you can always give me an excuse, but Dr. Yan, I'm not an A-grade student. Make up something, work on something that you're good at, because if somebody is willing to talk to you, you must have something good about it, okay? So don't be so humble. So the whole thing is to aim at the end. Him, I proclaim to you. It's very simple. It's talking about Jesus Christ. It's talking about God's work. I, not a preacher, not somebody else. I, your friend. I'm sharing it with you. Proclaiming this means I'm authoritarian. I'm about talking down to you. No, I'm just making it loud and clear. You can disagree. But the point is, make every opportunity of sharing this with other people. So how do you do that? Find or create an opportunity where others can ask you questions. Okay? A very straightforward point is, for example, you have a birthday party. You invite a friend and you say, dear friend, I have not invited you to my birthday party for the longest time. This is my whatever 50th birthday, 70th birthday. It's a big deal to me. I have been a Christian for a long time. Would you give me an opportunity to share with you something very important about knowing Jesus Christ? Well, the guy may want to come simply because of the birthday cake. But after that, you talk to him. You create, you make the opportunity. Now, if he doesn't want to do it, fine, he doesn't want, but you create the opportunity. Sometimes so sad, people ask us and we don't know what to say. We say, well, would you come to, our fellowship next Friday? Next Friday, the guy is somewhere else, okay? So the easiest way is to get them involved, okay? Very simple. If you ask a stranger, my top used line is, well, what do you do for a living? Almost everybody will tell you how they make a living. I have a few ladies who say, oh, I'm just a housewife. I said, oh my goodness, there's no such thing as just a housewife. You do such an important job. It's just that you don't get paid. Isn't that unfair? They say, oh, no, I'm paid with love. See, that opens up a lot of things. Just ask, what do you do for a living? And then when they tell you, when you get serious, you say, do you have a few more minutes? So that they don't run away when you get to the real important part, okay? So understand what the other person believes or is important to him, and then you talk about Jesus. You don't talk about your church. I'm sorry, the church program is supporting, but we are talking about Jesus Christ here. Let's talk about Jesus. And it's okay if not everybody believes. If your friend does not want to believe, if only some of them believe, fine. If nobody believes, fine. But they say, we are coming back to get you next time. We just want to hear more from you. That's fine too. Okay? So let's look at what Paul said. Using the inductive method, this is what he said. Now, we can go to the Bible and read the whole thing again. But again, this is a lecture. Let's just pick out a few points from the Bible directly. I do not have the idea to get this to support my ideas. I pick this from the Bible and derive my ideas from them. Paul said, men of Athens, I observe that you are very religious in all aspects. No need to condemn. I mean, I know some preachers, the first thing will say, well, men of Las Vegas, Sin City, I observe that you guys are very rotten. There's nothing decent you do. Hey, that's what they do. That's what they think is important. Be nice about it, okay? Paul also said, I also found an altar with this inscription to an unknown God. Oh my goodness. theologically, there's no such thing as an altar for an unknown God. I mean, it's so silly. If it's unknown, it cannot be God. Yeah. Anyway, we're not going into the theology, okay? So there's no need to say, well, what do you guys know? My God is called Jehovah. If you come to my church, you will know the truth. And I'm proclaiming it to your brother. Just be nice about it, okay? That's what the other guy believes. And you don't have to agree. You just say, well, I sense that you guys are very sincere, okay? However, you don't have to agree with everything they saying. You can still point it out that they're wrong in a very nice way. Be very objective, okay? Be very sincere. But he is the Lord of heaven and earth. Well, don't these guys know? Of course they know. It's just that the real good Lord, they don't know which one is the top guy. So in case they offend some other lesser one, they put in an unknown God. So Paul said he is the Lord of heaven and earth. He does not dwell in temples made with hands, okay? Far less your little altar. So we can be very objective about it. And in fact, when you discuss with other people, don't say, I believe in this. As a Baptist, we believe in it. As a deacon of my church, and we are one of the better churches in this city. Nobody cares about that. You are defeated if you quote those things. Be objective about things, okay? The Lord we worship is the creator of this heaven and earth. Well, who else do you worship? You know? I mean, that's a very simple statement, but that's not enough, okay? You make the point. Paul said what? Continue. If you go to chapter 17, you can read the whole details. He made from one man every nation. You don't have to say, well, do you guys know as Adam and Eve? No. From one, he derived all the nations, including you Greeks, and we Jewish people, and so on. For what reason? There's a reason that they would seek God. So in other words, we acknowledge that you Greeks are also very sincere seekers. It's a blessing. That's part of God's plan. Now, don't say that no, unless you raise your hand in a Billy Graham crusade, you are not seeking after God's plan. God's plan is in work only after you receive Jesus Christ. No. God has a plan for everybody. And even before they receive Jesus Christ, he made every nation, in fact, so that within the national identity, they will seek God the way they understand. You know what? So, but now, since you want to hear what I say, after having said all those things, to know that we're not enemies, you're listening carefully. God is now declaring to all men, what? That all people, everywhere, including you guys in Athens, you don't have to say that, but basically it is, all people everywhere should, what? Repent. You should change your ways. Otherwise, it's not talking about Jesus Christ. If I agree with you, I agree that you guys are religious, but I agree with you also that you're seeking. I agree with you that you don't know about Jesus Christ, which is why I'm here to tell you. How do we know Jesus Christ is the way? Well, because the good Lord has furnished proof to all men. By raising Jesus from the dead, you have to talk about the resurrection. Then you talk about the resurrection any way you want. And you will find out when you touch the more important stuff, a lot of time, if they're not ready, they will cut you off and say, all right, we hear enough. We'll come back next time or let's see what else you have to say. Fine. Why? Because you have gotten the message in. They will not stop you unless they know what you're talking about. One step at a time. Move it. Don't try to do everything. You won't like it yourself. I mean, you won't like it if a Buddhist friend asks you to go to his temple and close the door and would not let you go until you become a Buddhist. You won't do that. You won't put up with that. You're free to leave at any time. So if your friend understands that you're telling him about Jesus and he's not ready, he will tell you he's not ready. So be it. Then find another opportunity to talk to him. You will find that they are listening. And when they go home, think about it, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to just preach a long sermon and everybody go home and be very happy that they are home. All right, so this approach is very simple. Be ready. And do this whenever the other person wants to talk, okay? First, talk about things of interest to him, all right? And again, I say, very simple. Tell me what you do for a living, okay? And if you really want to talk about how can you be successful in this kind of work? They will tell you everything, okay? And then you should know what they will say after you set your piece. And to be prepared for that, you need to be prepared for your end point, which is how to lead to Jesus Christ. Now, if you have no idea, then do it a second time. Second time just be better. If you still have no idea, practice on the third person until you get say what you want. Nothing is easy, and you are not born with the message. You need to learn the thing. So, I typically say this, I'm not particularly religious, but sometimes you have to agree that the good Lord does what he does watch over us. So you try to, make it as palatable as possible and have fun. Be humorous about it, and you will find that it's really an amazing encounter. So let me tell you by ending a very wonderful story of how I shared about Jesus on a plane ride back from DC. Oh man, this is amazing. Well, I was invited to attend a conference in Bethesda run by a National Institute of Health on countermeasures, because I have a product that can help people survive after an atomic bomb or after a nuclear accident. So on the way home, flying back to Orange County, I was sitting next to this guy, and it's well, he was very loudmouth, he was boisterous, and so I asked him, well, sir, looks like you are an important person, so tell me, what kind of work do you do? And he said, I am a lawyer trained in Yale, and my life goal is to release convicted murderers from jail. You don't have people telling you that in one sentence, how proud he is. And I said, oh my, that must be some work. And well, pardon me, I happen to be a doctor, and my ambition is to never get sued by a lawyer. That's just to make sure that we have a conversation, right? So of course he said, so you never make any mistakes? Well, not that I will be caught. So anyway, so we are on equal ranks, right? So the plane start flying, and so he took out his work, and so I asked, oh my goodness, you're working on some publication? And he said, no, I'm writing a novel. Oh, can you tell me about it? Well, it's the same thing. I always work on murder stories, and now I want to have this published. So the conversation, you know how it goes, right? Oh my goodness, how many have you written? Oh, too many to tell you. Oh my goodness, that's true too, huh? I have 60 patents, and it's just too hard to keep track of them. So you see, we are equally matching each other. I am not apologizing to him. So anyway, so after a while, the stewardess was passing by, and he would just say, hey, sweetheart, beautiful, how about having a date with me after we get off the plane? My goodness. So I said, where are you going? So he said, I am going to Fiji for my 80th birthday. He is 80 years old, but he's behaving like a 50-year-old. With my apology to all the 50-year-old, okay? I'm sure you guys are not out of control like this guy. But he was trying to flirt with the airline stewardess. And just, I'm sitting there saying, all right, this guy. I need to do something about this. So he was working, and after coffee or something like that, things settled down. So I turned to him. He put away his work and said, hey, you want to hear my story? So the guy said, well, I had the feeling that you are going to tell me even if I don't want to hear it. You are quite right, okay? So I said, I'm not a religious guy, and I don't even believe it myself, but sometimes, these things do happen. And so he kept quiet. So, you have to be a little dramatic about it. That some time ago, I was on call in the hospital, and we have a busy night, but luckily I got to get some sleep. So I woke up early in the morning. It's not that early, about 8:30. I was ready to go home. So of course he is moaning or groaning. What kind of story is this? I know. Hey, you have to prepare, marinate the meat a little bit so that it tastes good later on. So you look at the guy and say, it's 8:30 and I was ready to go home. And suddenly there's this voice. It's not actually a voice, but an understanding and awareness. Don't go. I was taken back. I'm not talking to anybody. It's an awareness, not a voice. I don't hear an audible voice. It's like my wife sometimes telling me, honey, you promised to go to the birthday party. Don't work overtime on Saturday afternoon or evening or something. We have to go there. It's an awareness. Or you borrow a book from the library, make sure that you return it before the due date. It's an awareness. So I was telling him, and he was looking at me and saying, okay, what's the story? Don't go. And I say, I never understand that. So I said, what am I supposed to do? I'm not religious at all. So I said, okay. I walk across the hospital. Now, this is a real story. From Kaiser Fontana to the other side, and there's a barber shop. They open early. So I went to have my haircut. I came back, and I want to go home because I have work to do. And again, the thing came. Don't go. I said, that doesn't make sense. What am I supposed to do? So I decided to do one thing. I went to the room and wash my hair because I'm cheap. I don't pay for the shampooing. I do it my own. And as I stood up, I have this squeezing in my heart. And I said, that's not good. Why? I am having trouble. So what trouble? In medical school, they told you, if somebody tells you an elephant is sitting on my chest, it's a bad thing because that means he is having a heart attack. Human language is really funny. So you may need to story a little bit. Nobody ever has experience of having an elephant sitting on his chest. Number two, nobody, even if that happened, would survive to tell the story. And why would anybody understand that if they say that? But they teach us in medical school, and everybody understand that. And so on that day, I don't have the chest pain, but I have this squeezing, and I said, that's not right. So I have a decision to go to the emergency room or go to my own anesthesia department. And it was 9 o'clock, and all the machines were on, and I told my nurse, do an EKG on me. And why? She thought I was kidding. Why? Because I'm having a chest pain. So she put on the stickers, and then my big nurse is from, and then the EKG showed this huge tsunami, acute MI. And I turned to her and said, oh my, I am having a heart attack. So my nurse put me on a wheelchair, rolled me to the ER, and the ER guy said, what are you having today? Well, because I'm still dressed in my hospital gown, white coat, Dr. Yan. They thought I was putting a trick on them because it was a Halloween day. And everybody was dressed up. I said, I showed the EKG and I said, I am having a heart attack. Would you get me in? The doc said, oh, in that case, it's true. Save us a lot of time. Next time anybody coming in should have the EKG with them. And you know what? They started the IV, gave me the thrombolytic, the medicine to dissolve the clot right there. And that was the first thing. The pharmacy set up shop on that level within the emergency room because it took too long for them to dissolve the drug and bring it up from the basement. By that time, half an hour is gone. It's over the window of saving the patient. I'm the first one to get that. Isn't that wonderful? And as a result, I had a heart attack, but I have no injury. So as a result, I was able to be alive, running around, going to the East Coast, attend meetings, and doing great work for the country. Silence. I stopped. Now you may think, well, Dr. Yang, but you haven't talked about Jesus Christ. Yeah. The reason I don't say about it because I want him to ask me about it. Okay. And indeed, he fell for the trap. You need to say something so that on hearing what you say, they will respond. And so, of course, the guy just saying, well, I think it's just a coincidence. You heard that before, right? So you need to know how to answer that. So I said, my friend, but you still have to agree that the results are very acceptable. In other words, he may call it a miracle if he's religious, or he may call it a coincidence. It just happened that way. Nobody can explain if he's not religious at all. But that's just the means. What is the end point? The end point is that I get better. So I said to him, but my friend, you still have to agree. You have to admit that the results are very acceptable. So the people in front of my row is starting to giggle and laugh. The people behind me are laughing out loud. So he said nothing. So after about 30 seconds, he turned around to me. Well, so tell me this. Why is your God so kind to you when he let all the other people die? That's a fair question. So that I can tell you about Jesus. At that time, the whole front was just roaring laughter. The people behind me just laughed. This lawyer, criminal lawyer for criminals, not criminal himself, did not think that this Chinese gentleman was leading him step by step so that I can tell him that it is Jesus that saved me. And obviously, he should be respectful to Jesus too. He had nothing to say, and he would have nothing to say with me after that. But the message went in. The ladies in front of me were roaring with laughter to turn around and say, I have never heard a discussion like this in all of my life. I agree. Can I buy you a drink? That's the highest compliment from black ladies, okay? So they want to buy me. Yeah. Oh no, some of the time I'm very happy. So thank the Lord, I'm alive and well. Done. So this is a story to illustrate. No matter what the other person is, if you have an opportunity to share the gospel, it is your duty and it is your joy. So be prepared for that. I know not everybody have opportunity like I have, but if I'm not ready for that, it's not talking about the miracle itself. That is a miracle. That everybody says a miracle. No, it's a miracle showing that Jesus is alive within my life, and that you should pay respect to Jesus too. So it's evangelism. Whenever we can, it can be done inside the church or outside the church, even on a plane. And on the plane is the best because the guy's not going to run away. Well, I don't mean to abuse the situation, and so I hardly ever talk to anybody else because everybody needs to sleep. Catch up with the sleep, me too. But when the opportunity comes, it's perfectly okay. Is the message done? Yes, the message is ingrained in him. He would not be able to say a word. So my request is that you ask the Lord for an opportunity, and it will come. Okay? And the question is very simple. What else should you be doing for the rest of your life except to share the gospel? And it's a great honor, it's a great joy, it's a great privilege. Use it. God bless. Bye-bye.